Hey, the BUZIE EP's out. Let's fucking go, dude. Let's fucking go. You know, technically speaking though, the EP doesn't come out for another like week or so, but by the time this goes on YouTube, the EP will have been out. That does kind of fall on me a little bit because they, for some goddamn reason, decided to trust me with handling the production of this little EP. That's right, gang. I recorded this, I helped produce it, I mixed this, I mastered it over the course of about a little under a year or so, and I, like a leech, will be piggybacking off of their success and praise for all the hard work that they put into it. And I think I speak for everyone here when I say it's about goddamn time. So I figured, why not show you all my process for going about mixing this song, EP. I almost said song. What the fuck? So, come with me as we step into the wonderful world of Pro Tools as I walk you through my shit fucking workflow.
It's a completely different time of day, and I'm wearing an entirely different outfit. If you make a comment about this, kindly go fuck yourself. Alright, I got 727 here up in Pro Tools running. It's beautiful. I've got everything divided out by instrument. I got my drums folder, I've got my vocals folder, I've got my bass folder, guitar, all the different effects, as well as my submixes. So let's just go ahead and start with the drums. Now this is a little bit of the song just so that, you know, we can refamiliarize ourselves with it. So I'll play it from this first chorus or so. So that's the mix. Let's go ahead and take a look at these drums. So there is a good amount going on here. Like I said in my Take the Shot production breakdowns, I really like big, clean, not overproduced, but enough to the point where it's like, oh, there was some work done on these, because why wouldn't I like my drums to sound awesome? I want to illustrate something here real quick. So these are the rooms. So we ran these drums through one of the compressors at the studio we recorded this at. We recorded this at 4115 Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. I absolutely love it there. I freelance out of there. Some really good records have been cut there, and I'm so glad that we were able to get in there and record this EP there. Now, there is one thing with the rooms right now. There is a little bit of click bleed, especially when you turn on every plugin except for this gate. It's a minute thing and it's so minuscule, but it got to the point where it was cutting through the rest of the mix. So what I did, and this is actually how I started to do this, was gating the rooms to the snare. So as you can see here, the key input for the gate is bus 24, and I'm sending that from the overall snare track. So every time the snare hits, the rooms open up and act as a sort of natural reverb. I wasn't too sure about how this was going to sound. This was kind of a last minute thing, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially here. If you play it from... It's such a subtle thing, dude. You really don't need a ton of rooms. I understand that rooms are kind of like the secret sauce for drums, but honestly, I would be cool mixing all my drums with as little rooms as possible. And if you really are itching for a room sound, you can load up a reverb plugin. And if you don't like that and you say that's cheating, I hate you. Let's take a look at the snare. Let's talk a little bit about the snare. So if you've seen the TikTok I posted a while back, you'll see that a lot of the snare top audio, all of the snare top audio pretty much, was unusable. It was only the transients. Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking throw up, dude. I put that Trigger 2 plugin on, and I wasn't super happy with it. We definitely have a usable snare now. Take off all these plugins. Kind of fake sounding, kind of robotic sounding. So I converted that to MIDI, and I added in this Addictive Drums sample. Layer that with the trigger. And then the actual snare bottom that we captured. Altogether, it doesn't sound great. Even when you turn on these plugins, it's the stock Pro Tools compressor, this EQ plugin here. I really like boosting this area. That's kind of like your ringy kind of sound of the snare. High cut here just to kind of get rid of all that unnecessary information. LA2A and a little bit of kilohertz transient shaper just to kind of give it a little extra push. And altogether, the snare sounds like this. Add that in with the rooms. And then the overheads. What do I keep saying? What the hell do I keep saying? The purpose of a mix is for everything to be greater than the sum of their parts. This is that manifest. Individually, the kit pieces might not sound that great, but all together, it really brings the whole thing to life. So that's rooms, that's overheads, that's snare, kick. Oh boy, kick. Let me take off all these plugins and let me just solo the kick in. Take these plugins off too. This is something else. Wow, I didn't realize it was like this. Jesus Christ. Okay, let me try to justify this. You know, machine gun kicks are good. And I think it's time that we as a society stop pretending that they're not. This is kind of an extreme example of a machine gun kick, especially on its own. But when you solo it, I mean, that's a professional kick. That's what you want it to sound like. Again, layer that with a Slate Trigger 2 sample. Addictive Drums. I believe the Addictive Drums sample, yeah, this Thomas Starr Classic guy right here. And that is tied to this DMX kick sample. Kick out for that low-end information. Hi, I don't want any of you except for you. I put on this SSL subgen to really give the kick some oomph, some real, like, subby information. And all together, the kick sounds like this. Kind of wet salmon sounding, kind of like you're getting slapped across the face with a fish. So you just throw on a little gate action. Let me actually turn all these guys on. A little gate, kind of a basic EQ. I adjusted this WC kick thud. Yeah, this Wes Clark kick thud preset. I adjusted that. A little bit more shaping. This is more in line with what my kick EQ looks like now. Get rid of that mid-range information, that real boxy sounding stuff. Boost the lows and boost this 5 to 8K range compressor just to bring it all together. And then again, transient shaper so that it cuts through. And that all together makes the kick sound like this. And then go through and adjust the levels as necessary. Overheads. We captured 3 overhead signals, yes. Overhead hat, overhead ride, and overhead mono. I choose overhead hat and ride rather than left and right because each drummer is different. Right-hand drummer has their kit set up different than a left-hand drummer. Thankfully, Reed, the drummer for BUZIE, right-handed, so I didn't have to do anything weird. So altogether, the overheads sound like this. Pretty good. Adjust the levels as necessary. I don't know why the overhead ride was coming in a lot quieter than the overhead hat, so I just adjusted the faders. In hindsight, I probably should have clip gained it, but you know what? It's my session. I do what I want. Shut up. Overhead mono, that kind of serves to bring the two sides together. On their own, the overheads sound like this. I actually wonder if I have... Yes, I have the mics that we used. We used an R88 on the overheads. It's a stereo microphone with two diaphragms pointing down. So one diaphragm captures the overhead ride, and one diaphragm captures the overhead hat. And then we stuck a U47 in the center to capture the middle. So the two sides sound like this. Pretty good, but let's bring in that mono signal. Just kind of glues it together. The mono signal on its own sounds like this. That's a really good mono overhead signal. I don't have anything crazy going on the two stereo channels, or on the stereo channel, rather, I guess. I don't know. Shut up. But I do have this 1176 to really glue that mono signal together. Almost kind of borderline smashing it a little bit. Scratch that. It's smashing it a lot. On the overall overhead channel, a little one-band EQ. Yes, one-band EQ. With the cutoff at 1K. I didn't want to capture any like low-end kick information. I really was only looking for the stereo information, right? The cymbals and the snare and the toms. I didn't really want to get any like kick or super crazy floor tom information. So that one-band EQ, compressor, doesn't look like it's doing anything too crazy. Another EQ just to kind of bring it all together. And then fresh air. This guy, I went over in my Take the Shot production breakdown. Man, this is the secret weapon right here for overheads. I'm burping a lot because I had Popeyes. I will not apologize for that. So let's move on to... I don't really feel a need to go over toms. When I'm mixing toms, I'm really only looking for this stuff going on up here. I'm not trying to get a ton of like low mid information, because that is just going to cause some crazy rumbling in your mix. I really only want like the sound of the sticks hitting the toms, the dung 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 dung, you know? So that's it for drums. Let me reset my camera and we will talk about bass guitar. See you in a bit. We're back. We're better than ever. Let's talk about bass. BUZIE is a very bass-forward band. When I was sending mixes to them, they were like, don't mix us like we're the Chili Peppers, but keep the Chili Peppers in mind. You know how Flea is a very, like, kind of lead bass player? Philip, the bassist for BUZIE, is also a lead bass player. So, let me solo the bass, and let's play it from... Yeah, chorus. Why the hell not? Come on, you can do it. You can do it. All right, let's take this apart bit by bit. Here's the bass amp. We tracked this through... I want to say we tracked this through Phil's bass head. If not, we would have tracked it through the bass amp that they have at the studio. The cab was, I believe it was the in-house cab that was in the basement that we stuck a D112E onto, and that sounds like this. Sounds pretty good, but we also went ahead and captured the DI signal, and I threw on 3 different amps. There's this one, which is kind of, I mean, this is literally just the bread and butter bass preset in THU. Next up, STL, because of course, I ran this through a guitar amp, actually. This is based on, what amp is this based? Oh, here it is. Fender DeVille 410. So, guitar nerds, do with that information what you will. Matching cabs, one with the Ribbon 88 preset, and one with the 57 on it. Kind of shaped that a little bit to give it some more boost around the 1K range. Don't know why I did that. And then lastly, ran it through Helix Native through an Ampeg SVT4 Pro. So, you know, crazy stuff going on. A lot of the heavy lifting is actually being done on the submix. I didn't touch on this in the drum segment of this, but put on SSL drum strip onto the submix, send it to a parallel compression channel, boom, you're done. Bass submix has got an 1176 on it, some more EQ. This is the preset for the electric bass in Infinity EQ. And then distressor, 3-to-1 ratio, distortion 3, play around with input output. I'm not sure if I touched the attack and release, but I wanted a slower attack and a quicker release, so that you really get the sound of Phil's fingers hitting the strings. I love that shit. And then to emphasize that sound a little bit more, I boosted the kind of 2K, 5K range, and then gave it a little bit more balls at about 100. And altogether, the bass sounds like this. I also sidechained the kick to the bass so that every time the kick hits, the bass will just like duck down so quick. Let me actually take all of these plugins off. And now turn them back on. And now let's play that with the drums so that you can hear the relationship between the kick and the bass. Already it's sounding great. So let's move on to guitars. Guitars were a little bit of a challenge from a mixing perspective because Parker and I chose to track the guitars with the pedal board on the way in rather than capturing just the raw DI signal. So the main guitar sound is actually from a dual rectifier on the clean channel, and that sounds like this guy. Hi, Jesus Christ, I know Pro Tools. So that's that. Doesn't sound awesome. That's why reamping exists. Because why would you modify the source when you could just add another audio signal and make it sound better that way? You know what I'm saying? You know why I do that? Because I'm an engineer. And that's what we do. Dirty Guitar Reamp is through a Marshall head with, I believe, Fender cabs, and then cut out all that low-end information. The bass is occupying that space. You don't need a lot of low-end information in your guitars, especially when they're distorted. Together, they sound like this. That brings it together. Hi, Pro Tools. And then, because I just can't get enough of reamping, Dirty Guitar Reamp 2, let's take a look at this. Why the hell not? Why the hell not? Why not throw a 5150 on the fucking indie project? Why the hell not? Are there matching cabs? Of course there aren't. You know why? Because I'm an engineer, and that's what we do. Altogether, these three dirty guitars sound like this. Play around with different compressors on your guitar channels. There was the stock Pro Tools on the main one, SSL E channel on the Marshall, and stock Pro Tools compressor on the 5150. Go ahead and play around with different phase relationships between them and different levels between the guitars to see what works. Mixing guitars on this was a lot of trial and error, I will admit, but that's what it's all about. So, don't know why I said it like that. Let's talk about the clean guitars. Helix Native, what you got for me? Hey, What are you? US Princeton, Fender Princeton. That's the amp that Parker plays live, so I wanted to replicate that. And then this Marcus II clean with, I believe that's a Fender cab on the clean guitars, and then on the clean guitar reamp through STL, used a Fender Bassman, and the clean guitars sound like this. If we were to redo this project, I would mic up Parker's cab, or mic up Parker's amp, and then capture the DI signal before it hits the pedal board. Trial and error, that's the name of the game. There's no one right way to do things. There is only the way that you want to do things. Dude, I could be a fucking professor, dude. That shit rocked. Not a ton of crazy other guitar stuff going on, so I believe that covers it. Let's take a look at the guitar submix. Okay, so I divided this into two different guitar submixes. There's the clean guitar sub, and then there's the dirty guitar sub right here. Clean guitar sub, again, roll off low-end information at about 130, little cut around 1.3K, and then boost 11K up. Compress it to make it play nice, send it to some reverb, and play around with your fader. Dirty guitar sub, a little bit more intense. So there's this EQ, there's this VBC rack from Slate Digital, virtual mix rack, distressor, and a little air EQ, and then one final EQ just to kind of make everything play nice together. I also have the dirty guitar, at least, being sidechained to the snare so that every time the snare hits the guitar, it ducks down a little bit. And that is a trick from everybody's favorite genre of music, metalcore. Lastly, octave guitar sub for this little octave guitar that happens at the two turnarounds. That's going to sound like this. Parker's distortion pedal is a Proco Rat 2, and that shit sounds so good, and I just bumped the mic. I'm very sorry. So that's guitars. I'm gonna reset the camera again, and then when I come back, we're gonna talk about vocals. I just had the craziest allergy attack of my life. I took enough Dayquil to tranquilize an elephant. I give it 20 minutes before my heart explodes and I pass out. Let's talk about vocals. We've gone over drums, we've gone over bass, we've gone over guitar. Let's go over vocals. There's a lot going on in these vocals that I think is really cool, and some neat recording techniques that I think you guys would really enjoy. So the verse vocals, all the vocals for that matter, were tracked in a separate Pro Tools recording session where I did all my comping together. These were tracked with I believe it is the SSL vocal strip, if I'm not mistaken. Where are you? Yes, SSL native vocal strip 2. This guy right here. This is kind of an all-in-one plugin. You've got a compressor, you've got a de-esser. Here's the de-esser. You have a compressor and a gate, a de-ploser, and some EQ. So all of the vocals were tracked with that, just inherently baked into them. So the only thing that's really going on here is this EQ that I put on Susie's voice. Then on the subs is where there is a little bit more. Compressor to glue everything together, a de-esser to fight some of the sibilants, and then another SSL native vocal strip. So let's go ahead and listen to some of these vocals soloed. I also hit these with a little bit of pitch correction, but not too much, because before anybody says pitch correction, Jesus fucking Christ, am I having a goddamn stroke in my own bedroom? Ooh, mama. Before anybody says pitch correction is cheating, I will say it's a tool. You should use it. Would you use a wrench? My God, would you not use a wrench because you think you can tighten a bolt better with your two fucking fingies? No, use a wrench. That's why it's there. And the same approach should be taken when using auto-tune. So here's what the main vocals sound like for the verse.
Stepping over gravestones, I could keep your secret safe.
It's also, the vocals are also going to a little bit of delay and a little bit of reverb. I believe I'm using the repeater plugin. Yes, the repeater, and then a little bit of plate reverb on the vocal. So here's what the vocals sound like.
Stepping over gravestones, I could keep your secret safe if you say so. 6 feet underneath the earth, doing honest dirty work. But God can't protect you from chemical burns, please.
Susie has an amazing voice. So that is the main verse vocal, and here's the main chorus vocal. You'd notice that these are stereo, and you would think that they were double-tracked, but they actually weren't. What we did was we took two large diaphragm condenser microphones and placed them right here, and I had Susie sing into the center of it. So you get the double-track effect without having to actually double-track. As long as you keep the microphones gain matched at the same gain and make extra care that there's not some weird phase stuff going on, this is going to sound incredible. Same deal, EQ, just for shaping. Trim plugin because I am doing some automation on here at the end. And here's what the main chorus vocals sound like.
You could say I remember going back to the devil, say that you never thought the world could get this dark. Pretty faces watching in the mirror, and I'll keep giving them more.
I mean, come on. That sounds awesome. Sure. Same deal. The harmonies. I hit these with a little bit more pitch correction than I normally would on a lead vocal, say. But harmonies are in the background. That's what they're there to do. So the harmonies sound like this during the chorus.
Say I remember go.
These are also going to a submix with an 1176. De-esser, EQ to really get rid of that low-end information. I just want the sound of it. And then chorus, just to give it a little bit more of kind of an ethereal quality to it. So they sound like this. I'll also bring in the chorus vocals maybe halfway through.
Say I remember going back to the devil, say that you never thought the world could get this dark. Pretty faces watching in the mirror, and I'll keep giving them more. All of the people above know that the world looks so much better where we are.
I mean, again, Susie just knocked it out of the park with that. There's a little bit of harmony stuff going on in the second verse.
I have been knocking since you were a kid, I know.
I have been knocking since you were a kid, I know. I didn't do my vocal warm-ups today. That's why it sounded like shit. And then that trades off here.
You know me, I am your habits. You can't have it without me. You're lousy just like me. Don't you want to see things my way?
What edit did I have to do here? That looks weird. You know what? Let's call it intentional. Because it was. Hi, Dad. What else? What else for vocals? Yes, bitch. Yas. All right. We got this choir thing here for the outro. Let me just play the outro for you so you can get familiar with it.
I wake up in a pool of condemnation, drown my sins in the sweat of self-hatred. I'm ashamed of a world that's ashamed of me. I'm just your sick little good-for-nothing victim.
Okay. Let me solo the choir.
I wake up in a pool of condemnation, drown my sins in the sweat of self-hatred. I'm ashamed of a world that's ashamed of me. I'm just your sick little good-for-nothing victimized kid.
That's so sick. Basically what she's doing is she's following a descending chord pattern. It's not in line with what the actual chords are in the song as like what the guitars and bass are doing, but she's going from an A minor to a G major to an F major to a G major, back up, and then A minor. So it gives this kind of like intense thing that it's like, oh god, something's about to happen. What's really cool though is that the root of the triad is inverted. I think it's first inversion. That sounds right. Yes. AP Music Theory coming back. What's up? And that is this guy, this choir 1 track.
It's ashamed of me. I'm just your sick little good for nothing victim. Eyes get judged.
So take a look at what she does here.
Victim eyes get judged by the blameless victim.
G,
eyes don't trust pretty faces.
F,
Shiny things will often deceive you.
G,
We've never met, but still
G sharp. You get a diminished chord, I believe, is what that is.
often deceive you. We've never met, but still
To really drive home what's going on. And then with the lead vocals,
often deceive you. We've never met, but still I believe you.
and then the whole band comes back in with that last A stab. It's really cool, and I absolutely love throwing in choir bits into my productions. The choir has a de-esser, EQ again, so that you really understand what she's saying. That's what that 5K boost is. Compressor to glue everything together, and then of course, chorus, because why the hell not? And that is pretty much it for 727. I mean, it is a pretty intense mix. There's a lot going on, but you know what? I absolutely love this song, and I'm super, super proud of how this one turned out. If you want, I can do another breakdown of a different song on this EP, maybe Birdlime, kind of like what that all looked like in the recording process of that song. Yeah, that's 727 by BUZIE. So yeah, let's go ahead and get out of Pro Tools finally, and we'll finish up.
Whoa, cool transition. That's 727 by BUZIE. I want to give a huge thank you to BUZIE for trusting me with this EP. Working on this was an absolute blast, and I'm super, super proud of this finished product. And if you haven't listened to Precious Space by BUZIE yet, go ahead and do that. It's super sick. I'm super proud of it, and I'm super excited for what BUZIE does next, and I hope that they decide to work with me again. If you liked this video, go ahead and leave a comment, subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends. I didn't like doing that at all. I hate doing that little thing, but hey, this is what I want to do for a living. Also, check out this sick-ass mug I got from 4115. Anyways, thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.